Welcome in, everybody, to another deep dive. And today we're tackling The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas by John Boyne.
Okay.
And I think this is going to be a really interesting one because, get this, our main source is actually a book overview for sixth graders.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So we're gonna break that down, but don't worry, we'll be layering in some extra, insights and context to make sure we give you the full picture.
Yeah.
So it's like getting all the key plot points, the themes, and all that
Right.
without any spoilers. So
Perfect.
yeah, you can still enjoy reading it for yourself afterwards.
It's amazing how a book for that age group can still pack such a punch when it comes to, complex and sensitive topics.
Totally, and
Okay.
that's what we're gonna get into. So let's start with the author himself, John Boyne.
Okay.
He's Irish, and he actually has written a ton of stuff for both adults and kids.
Oh, wow.
And what's really interesting is that with this book, he specifically wanted to combine, historical fiction with magical realism.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's like he takes this, incredibly dark period in history, the Holocaust,
Right.
and then he adds this layer of almost like dreamlike surrealism on top of it.
That's so smart because it lets people kind of approach this, obviously horrific event through a slightly different lens.
Right.
It's almost like
Yeah.
a way to process it
Yeah.
without, taking away from the emotional impact.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's going to come up a lot as we talk about the book.
For sure.
So, okay, let's jump into the story itself.
Okay.
We've got Bruno. He's our 9-year-old main character.
Okay.
And we see the whole story through his innocent, childlike eyes
Got it.
and his family. They're forced to move from Berlin to this place he calls Out With.
Out with.
Yeah, and if you haven't read the book yet, you probably guessed it.
I
but-
see. Good well.
Exact. That's his little kid way of saying Auschwitz.
And even that mispronunciation, it's like right away it shows you just how little he understands about what's going on around him.
Oh, yeah, he's totally clueless.
It's not just, a cute kid thing.
Right.
It's really about how easily children can be shielded from, or even worse, like indoctrinated into really dangerous ideologies.
Yeah, it's like his innocence is almost like a shield protecting him from the truth.
Exactly.
Like he even complained about his new house being smaller.
Oh, gosh.
Totally oblivious to the fact that, the move has everything to do with the horrors happening at the camp.
It's such a stark contrast,
That's
right?
totally-
You have Bruno's childish worries next to, this unimaginable suffering. It makes you think about how privilege and ignorance can just blind people to the pain of others.
Yeah, it's a powerful message for sure. And then there's the fence.
Okay.
This is literally a barrier separating Bruno's world from the camp.
Right.
It's where he meets Shmuel, another boy his age, who's Jewish and lives on the other side of the fence.
It's like a visual representation of that divide between them.
Absolutely. And their unlikely friendship, it kind of blossoms at this fence,
Right.
despite everything separating them.
And I think the fence, it represents so much more than just that physical separation.
Oh, for sure.
It's about the ideological divide,
Yeah.
the societal divide that fueled the whole Holocaust.
Yeah.
Bruno, he sees it as just an obstacle because he doesn't get it.
Hmm.
But for Shmuel, it's imprisonment, dehumanization,
Yeah.
the threat of death.
Yeah. It was really heavy stuff. And their friendship, it's at the core of this whole story.
Absolutely.
These two boys, they come from such different backgrounds, but they find this common ground,
Right.
And it really challenges the whole Nazi ideology that tries to dehumanize and separate people.
That's the heart of it.
Yeah, and Boyne doesn't shy away from showing how that ideology seeped into even the family structure.
Oh, yeah.
Bruno's father, he's a Nazi commandant. He
Yeah.
really embodies the regime's beliefs.
Right. It's like a microcosm of German society at the time, right?
Exactly.
Some blindly following, some quietly disagreeing, and then some like Bruno just completely unaware.
Right. And we see that with the other characters too, like Bruno's mom, she seems to be struggling with her conscience, but she still goes along with her husband's role.
It makes you think about all the difficult choices people faced back then.
Totally.
Comply or resist, such a tough situation.
And then there's Bruno's sister, Gretel. She's like the opposite of their mom.
How so?
She totally embraces the Nazi ideology. She's almost like a caricature of it,
Oh, wow.
It's kind of disturbing, actually.
It's a reminder that prejudice, it's learned.
Yeah.
It can happen anywhere.
And then there's Lieutenant Collar,
Oh, yeah.
this young soldier who's just brutal to the prisoners, but then he tries to charm Bruno's mom.
It's a weird mix.
Yeah, it's like he embodies the contradictions within human nature.
It makes you wonder how people navigate their own morals in a system that's so messed up.
Yeah, and how much of our morality is shaped by the world around us?
For sure.
It's a question that's still relevant today,
Absolutely.
way beyond the Holocaust.
Totally. Welcome back to our deep dive into The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. You know, one of the things that keeps coming back to me is how Boyne uses Bruno's innocence to, like, really highlight the awfulness of the Nazi regime.
Oh, totally. It's like, because Bruno doesn't get it, we as readers, we have to face the horror, like, head on.
Yeah, and it makes it even more unsettling, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And it's not just a plot device, you know? It's a huge indictment of the adults who built this system of hate. It makes you ask, how could they let this happen?
I know, right?
How could they subject their own kids to this twisted reality?
And those mispronunciations out with the fury, it's not just like cute kid stuff. It shows how language can be twisted, to hide the truth.
Absolutely. That manipulation of language, it's key to how these totalitarian regimes work.
Right.
They twist words to control how people think, to justify their actions. Like, think about how the Nazis used final solution.
Right.
Such a sanitized term for genocide.
It makes you realize, like, we got to be critical of what we see and hear, question the stories we're told.
100%. The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, it reminds us to not take things at face value, especially when it comes to justice and human rights,
Right.
We got to search for the truth, even when it's hard.
So going back to Bruno's family, we have those contrasting views. You've got his dad, the commandant, all in on the Nazi beliefs, and then his mom, who seems unsure, but she stays quiet.
I don't know if I'd say she stays quiet. This is Nazi Germany speaking out could mean, well, terrible things.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
Not just for her, but for her whole family.
It's easy to judge, looking back, but they were in a tough spot.
Exactly. And The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, it doesn't give easy answers.
Yeah.
It just lays out those moral dilemmas, makes us think about how people act in extreme situations.
Then you have Bruno's sister, Gretel. She's like all about the Nazi stuff, almost a caricature of it, It's pretty unsettling.
Gretel's character is so disturbing because she shows how anyone can be radicalized.
Oh, for sure.
It reminds us that prejudice, it's learned. It can take root anywhere, even at home.
What about Lieutenant Cutler? He's so cruel to the prisoners, but then acts all charming with Bruno's family. It's jarring.
Kotler, he embodies the banality of evil. He's not some monster. He's just an ambitious young guy who's accepted this cruelty as normal.
It's scary to think about, but evil can be so ordinary.
Exactly. It's often small acts of going along, of not caring, that add up.
We got to be aware of that.
We can't let our guard down. We have to be vigilant about prejudice and hate, the ways they sneak into our lives.
So Bruno decides to go into the camp. He wants to help Shmuel find his dad. He crawls under the fence, no idea of the danger.
That moment when he crosses into the camp, it's loaded with meaning. Innocence meets horror. Good intentions gone terribly wrong.
And it shows how deep the Nazi ideology goes. The camp, it's more than just a place. It's a world where humanity is gone.
And Bruno, he thinks he can just walk in and out. But it's not that simple. The camp, it consumes him, like so many others.
It's just heartbreaking. It shows how fragile life is and what hate can do.
And it makes us ask, how do we stop this from happening again?
That's a big question.
How do we make sure future generations learn from the past?
It's a tough one, but we can't ignore it. We got to remember, learn, and act.
Welcome back. As we wrap up this look at The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, the thing that really sticks with me is how Boyne uses Bruno's, limited view to challenge us. It's like he's saying, even a kid can miss the truth, even when it's right there.
It's a good point. It makes you think about, all the ways we can be blind to things, even when they're obvious.
Exactly. We all have our blind spots, our own ways of not seeing things clearly.
Right. And this book, it forces us to face that.
Yeah, to question what we believe and how we see the world.
It makes me think about empathy, trying to see things from other people's perspectives.
Oh, totally. Empathy is huge.
Yeah.
For breaking down those barriers between people.
Right. It's about seeing the humanity in everyone, no matter who they are or what they believe.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about the ending. Bruno goes into the camp to help Shmuel, and it doesn't end well.
Yeah, it's tough to read.
It really makes you think,
It is, but I don't think it's meant to be a simple moral lesson.
Yeah.
Like blaming Bruno for being naive.
So what is it about then? What's the message?
I think it's about how evil can be so sneaky, how it can get into even the most innocent hearts.
Right.
Bruno's death.
Mhm.
It's a reminder that good intentions, they aren't enough.
Yeah,
We have to be aware and we have to fight injustice.
that's a big responsibility.
It
And
is.
I think this book gives us some clues on how to do it. Remember how we talked about the fence as a symbol of division?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's also about the importance of like crossing those lines, reaching out to people who are different.
Oh, I like that. The fence is a barrier, but it's also a place where Bruno and Shmuel connected.
And their friendship, it gives you a little bit of hope in this really dark story.
It shows that kindness and compassion can exist even in the worst situations.
So we've covered a lot today.
We have the characters, the plot, the history, the themes.
It's a powerful book.
It is. And now it's up to you, the listener, to take these ideas and think about them in your own life.
Yeah. What parts of the story resonated with you? How do these themes like friendship, innocence, prejudice, responsibility play out in the world today?
Good question.
And as you're thinking about those questions, remember what John Boyne said. It's important that we never forget the horrors of the past, but it's equally important that we learn from them and try to create a future where those things never happen again.
Well said.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into The Boy in the Striped Pajamas.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
We hope you learned something new and that this sparks some important conversations.
Absolutely. And keep thinking, keep questioning, and keep engaging with the world around you.
And that's it for today's deep dive. We'll see you next time.